Today I'm going to be talking about stimulant safety. So let's get started. You definitely do not want to be taking any stimulant or fat burner or pre-workout or anything sketchy that has this ingredient in it. Hey, what's up YouTube? Christine with Gauge Girl Training, an online meal planning and coaching service. Today I'm going to be talking about stimulant safety. So let's get started. So in this initial series talking about pre-workout supplements, one reason a lot of people take pre-workout supplements is because they have a stimulant effect. There are several stimulants on the market, and I want to discuss the most important factor, which is safety. That is the most important thing you guys need to be aware of when it comes to different things that you may be taking, whether you're taking it in a pre-workout supplement, whether you're taking it in a fat burner, whether you are taking it in just medication or as a standalone. So this video is going to be going over stimulant safety of a ton of different stimulants on the market, some which are legal and some of which are illegal as well. Now, what are stimulants? So stimulants are drugs that have an impact on your central nervous system, and these can help increase alertness, raise awareness, improve your concentration, as well as have an impact on your energy levels. Now, legal stimulants, they are going to differ from region to region, depending on which country you are in, based on the individual laws and policies in your local government. However, generally speaking, in the United States, legal stimulants include a range of drugs such as nicotine, caffeine, and there are some certain prescription amphetamines. So just because something is legal does not necessarily mean that it's not a drug. So just be aware of that. I think there's a really big misconception about just because something's legal, they think that it's not a drug. It's still a drug. So I'm gonna get into that in some more detail as we go throughout each stimulant. How do you know if the product you are taking consumes a stimulant? Now, the story of synthetic stimulants showing up in dietary supplements is not new. It's been happening for quite some time, for several decades now. And the first step is you gotta look at the supplement facts panel on the product. So chemicals with the suffix "ine," if there is an INE at the end of the name of that ingredient, that means that that product or that ingredient is actually part of a class of chemicals called amines. So for those of you who've taken organic chemistry, you will know this. All right, so what are amines? Amines technically are derived from ammonia. Ammonia is NH4, but what this really means is that there is one or more of the hydrogen groups coming off of ammonia, which has been replaced with an alkyl or an aryl group. So long story short, all you really need to know about amines is that it has a nitrogen molecule bonded with a hydrogen where one or more of the hydrogens coming off of the central nitrogen is another group of chemical constituents. So if that doesn't make sense to you, don't worry about it, but you just need to know that a lot of stimulants end in INE, in ine. So we're talking about things like caffeine, synephrine. Now it's pronounced synephrine, but it's like got an INE at the end, so it's still part of the same chemical group. Yohimbe, it's still got the INE at the end, even though we pronounce things differently. And the other thing I want you guys to know though, hang on, is that there is also an entire group of hallucinogenic chemicals that end in ine, the INE also. So we're talking about amphetamines, they end in ine. So that should have you scratching your head, questioning the safety of anything that you're taking that has an INE at the end of it. So we're gonna go through these one at a time, break them down, and I'm going to give you my opinion. You can take it or leave it, but I'm going to give you my opinion regardless of what the law says. I'm going to tell you, even though some things are legal, I'm going to tell you the red flags and warning signs that I think you guys should be looking out for. First thing we want to talk about is drugs in the class of amphetamines. Now, amphetamines can also be substituted amphetamines. I'm not going to get into the detailed chemistry of this. However, what you should know about amphetamines is that they are addictive, mood-altering drugs, and they are used illegally as stimulants or legally as prescription drugs. Now, an amphetamine would want to be used in a legal prescription drug situation to help people with ADD, perhaps adults with narcolepsy, or extreme measures like that. But if you are taking amphetamine and you do not fit those criteria, you are using it as a drug. Now, unfortunately, as I started to talk about in the last video with pre-workout supplements, amphetamine-like substances are popping up in dietary supplements, especially fat burners, especially pre-workouts. And it's growing in abundance. It's not cool. Companies do want to make products that work, that are effective, because everybody wants the results, but at the same time, you cannot compromise safety. I repeat, you cannot compromise safety when it comes to these supplements, and there are too many businesses and companies just pushing the envelope. It's not cool, and that is why I am here to educate and inform you guys what you really need to know. And one of the problems is that end users may actually be using these ingredients and have no idea they're using these ingredients because they are labeled with synonymous chemical names. As I started talking about in the last video, I was talking about how DMAA was a stimulant that was banned from pre-workout substances that was common to the product Jack 3D. However, DMAA, 1-3-dimethylamylamine, has a million different names. And it also has an herbal sounding name, which you wouldn't even think, like geranamine. Would you think that something called geranamine, it would be the same as 1-3-dimethylamylamine? No, you wouldn't. So take some notes on the things I'm going to be discussing next. All right, guys, first ingredient we're talking about is caffeine. So what is caffeine? Caffeine is a drug that is naturally found in coffee, tea, and chocolate. It stimulates the central nervous system. It increases alertness. It reduces drowsiness. It does improve your coordination. Now, an alternative name for caffeine, which you guys may not know, is guarana, is also chemically the same as caffeine. Now, a typical dose of caffeine is 200 milligrams. Now, a lethal dose of caffeine is 10 grams. So 200 milligrams, which is the same as 0.2 grams, is substantially less than 10 grams. However, you should be aware that caffeine can kill you if you take upwards of 10 grams or more. Is it a legal stimulant? Yes, it is legal. Is it legal without a prescription? It's not applicable in this case. Is it safe? Yeah, I would say it's safe. It is generally regarded as safe by the FDA because lethal doses, which I said is 10 grams, substantially more than like working dosages. Even if you had 500 milligrams of caffeine, which is half of a gram, that is still substantially less than the amount that would kill you. But you should know 10 grams or more, we're talking like lethal levels. Next stimulant you want to know about, theobromine. Now, this is an isomer of theophylline, and it's a homolog of caffeine. So what does that mean? It is naturally occurring in tea. It's obtained from the cacao bean. It is used chiefly as a diuretic, a myocardial stimulant, as well as a vasodilator. Now, this ingredient does have other names. I'm going to be putting them here on the screen for you to take a look at. Now, typical dosages of theobromine range between 100 and 560 milligrams. Now, the lethal dose is going to be very dependent on your weight. So I'm listing it here as a lethal dose as 1,000 milligrams per kilo of your body weight. So you want to keep that in mind. Is this a legal stimulant? Yes, it is. Legal with a prescription. It's not applicable in this case. And is this safe? Yes, I definitely would concur. Theobromine is safe. Next stimulant is synephrine. Now, this is chemically similar to ephedrine when it comes to its mechanism and pathway of how it functions, but it is less potent. And this synephrine is commonly referred to as bitter orange. And it's an alkaloid occurring naturally in some plants and even some animals. Now, alternative names for synephrine, putting here on the screen for your reference. Typical dosages of synephrine can be ranging between 50 and 100 milligrams. You want to keep that in mind. Those are typical dosages. You don't want to go higher than that. Lethal dosages of synephrine is on order of 1,000 milligrams. So just be careful, you guys. If you're taking anything that has synephrine in it, it's great, it's effective. However, a typical dose can have upwards of 100 milligrams. A lethal dose is 1,000 milligrams. So if you start taking 2 scoops, you're already at 200 milligrams, you're already at 20% of the lethal dose. You just want to be careful. This is significantly a smaller margin of getting to the upper limit of what your body can handle. It's effective, but you just want to be careful. Is it a legal stimulant? Yes, it is. And is it safe? Yes, it is safe. Again, lethal dosages are significantly higher than typical dosages. Next stimulant is nicotine. Crazy thing about nicotine is that it's so chemically similar to nicotinic acid, which is niacin, and niacin, which is good for you, nicotine, not so good for you. Now, nicotine, it's the primary psychoactive constituent of tobacco. It does act as a stimulant as well as a sedative, which gives it a very unique set of properties. Now, immediately after consuming nicotine, you will experience somewhat of a kick, and this is part of the drug stimulation to the adrenal glands as a result of the discharge of epinephrine, which is adrenaline. So you are going to feel a kick from nicotine, but it also has a sedative effect as well. Now I'm putting here on the screen alternative names for nicotine. Typical dosages of nicotine are on order of 2 milligrams per cigarette. How much nicotine will kill you in one dose? 60 milligrams. So think about that. 2 milligrams per cigarette, 60 milligrams would kill you if you had that all at once. So if you lit up 30 cigarettes at the same time, smoke them all at once, that would do it. That would do it. I'm not trying to tell you how to kill yourself, obviously, but I'm just telling you what you need to know. Is it a legal stimulant? Yes. Cigarettes are illegal. And is it safe? No, it's not safe. So don't smoke. Next stimulant is geranamine. I talked about this a little bit before. Now, geranamine is a vasoconstricting agent, and it will impact your central nervous system. It is chemically similar to amphetamines. Here on the screen, you will see alternative names for geranamine. Geranamine doesn't sound bad, right? It's also called geranium oil, geranium extract. They all sound pretty kosher, right? Wrong. It's also known as 1,3-dimethylamine, DMAA, a bunch of other crazy things. Now, typical dosages of this stimulant range between 25 and 50 milligrams. Now, a lethal dose, I normalize this based off of your body mass. A lethal dose of geranamine is 185 milligrams per kilogram. Is this a legal stimulant? No. It is not legal. It wasn't legal per se at one point, it just wasn't banned. Is it legal with a prescription? Nope. Is it safe? I would say no. I would say definitely no. All right, guys, next stimulant we are covering is something called maca root extract. Now, maca is a vegetable that belongs to the broccoli family. It resembles a turnip. It is known as an aphrodisiac, and it increases sperm production as well as it's a central nervous system stimulant. Now, here on the screen, right here, you will see alternative names for the maca root extract. Typical dosages of maca root is typically found in the 3 to 9 gram range if you ever see it in a product. Lethal dosages, there have been no cited adverse reactions at 5 grams per kilogram body weight at that level of normalized dosages. Is it a legal stimulant? Yes, it is legal. Is it safe? Yes. So if you see maca root, good to go. The next stimulant we are going to talk about is known as DMBA. Now, DMBA is a very close relative of DMAA, which is 1,3-dimethylamylamine. Now, when consumed in small dosages, DMBA is a very strong central nervous stimulant. People started using it because people were getting in trouble for using DMAA. So people were like, okay, let's try to use something else that does the same thing, but it's not flagged. But then there ended up becoming problems. So DMBA is a strong central nervous system stimulant, but it can help increase energy, focus, metabolism. It can be made synthetically or naturally found in oolong tea. However, that is after it has been extracted and concentrated. Now, this has a lot of other names. One of the most common names is 1,3-dimethylbutylamine as opposed to amylamine. Typical dosages of DMBA are less than 50 milligrams per serving. Now, lethal dosages are in the 40 milligrams per kilo body weight. Is this a legal stimulant? No, it is not legal. Is it safe? I'm giving it a no. Not safe, not legal. Don't mess with it. Next, we're going to talk about the class of ingredients called phenylethylamines. Phenylethylamines is also known as PEA. Now, phenylethylamines, they are organic compounds. They have natural monoamide alkaloids known for their psychoactive and stimulant effects. It is naturally produced in certain types of funguses and bacteria. Now, you can see right here, these are different names for phenylethylamines. Most commonly, you're going to see PEA, but there are a list of other chemical names that it is referred to as. And typical dosages are 1 to 4 grams, where lethal dosages are 50 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So it needs to be factored in for how much body mass you have. Are phenylethylamines legal? Yes, they are. And the thing is, they are effective. I've used them. I like them. Are they safe? Yes. Phenylethylamines are good. They are a safe stimulant, especially if you're trying to get away from some of these other crazy illegal stimulants. Next is l-carnitine. So what is l-carnitine? It is an amino acid derivative, and it's derived from a combination of amino acids. However, l-carnitine itself is not an amino acid. It's derived from amino acids, but it itself is not an amino acid. This ingredient, it's anecdotally known as a stimulant. However, its effects are significantly less than that of things like caffeine. It helps because it can transport fat to your cells as an energy source. So if you're using fat as a source of energy, it can help you burn some fat. Cool. It allows the transport of long-chain fatty acids to the inner mitochondrial membranes that can be converted to ATP for energy. Now, this list right here are some alternative names from L-carnitine. Its level of effectiveness, in my opinion, as a stimulant. By itself, it's not going to be the end-all be-all, but it's good for those of you who are sensitive to stronger stimulants. So if you are sensitive to stronger stimulants but want a little bit of a boost, it will help. The effect is not going to be nearly as strong. Typical dosages of L-carnitine range in the 630 to 2500 milligram dosages. If you are outside of that window, be careful. Lethal dosages. If you are greater than 5 grams a day, it could cause some side effects. You definitely just don't want to overdo it on L-carnitine, even though it is one of the most highly regarded safe stimulants out there. Don't have more than 5 grams a day. It is legal. It is safe. But again, just watch the upper limit on that ingredient. Next, vitamin B12. We cannot forget our B vitamins. Now, vitamin B12, it increases your neurotransmitter levels when you are at a level greater than 1,000 micrograms. And as a result, it can have stimulant-like effects. So vitamin B12 in and of itself is not a stimulant, but when dialed in at the appropriate dosages, it can have stimulant-like effects. Right here, this list is all the other things that vitamin B12 can be called, so just carefully read the labels. A typical dose is at 2.4 micrograms per day. Lethal dosages of this ingredient is greater than 10 grams. You do not want to be taking 10 grams of vitamin B12. But if you are at around greater than 1 gram, you're going to start to see some stimulant-like effects. Again, typical dosage is around 2.4 micrograms. And let's see, is it a legal stimulant? Yes. Is it safe? Yeah, it's vitamin B12. You're good there. Next, we're going to talk about vitamin B6. Now, vitamin B6 is important because it increases the production and release of various energizing neurotransmitters in your brain, such as dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. So because it can release neurotransmitters in your brain, it does have stimulant-like effects. Now, vitamin B6 has a ton of other names. You can see the other names right here for what and other things vitamin B6 can be called. Typical dosages are 0.3 milligrams per pound of body weight. Lethal dosages are greater than 1,000 milligrams, and that can cause neuropathy. It's a legal stimulant. Is it safe? Yes, it is safe. It's vitamin B6. Next thing I'm going to talk about is Adderall. So Adderall is a brand name prescription stimulant and stimulant medication. It has a calming and focusing effect. It's very effective for those who are diagnosed with ADHD. However, it can be abused if it's taken in higher quantities or in a different manner than it was otherwise prescribed to be taken. Because of this, Adderall is known to reduce your appetite, it increases your alertness, it increases your focus and attention, and it's frequently abused for the purposes of weight loss and performance when it is intended to help people with the inability to focus and concentrate. And because these drugs can produce a euphoric effect, they are frequently abused for recreational purposes. Adderall has several other names. It is an amphetamine. You can see right here a lot of the various names of it. I'm not going to get into recreational drug use in this video, but I did want to name it as a stimulant because you do want to be aware and read this list over carefully at the other names it also goes by. Typical dosages of Adderall can range anywhere from 5 to 60 milligrams per day. Lethal dosages of this ingredient are on order of 20 to 25 milligrams per kilogram body weight. It's not a legal stimulant, however, it is legal with a prescription. Is it safe? I'm going to say no. Unless you have a prescription for it, I do not advise using it. Next stimulant we're talking about is methylphenidate. Now, methylphenidate is also known as Ritalin hydrochloride, and it is a mild central nervous system stimulant. And it's a prescription medicine. It affects chemicals in the brain and nerves because it can help minimize hyperactivity. Again, those with ADD, ADHD, and those who suffer from narcolepsy. Now, the stimulant affects how the brain controls impulses, and that regulates your behavior and attention by influencing the availability of certain chemicals, such as neurotransmitters in the brain. Now, this stimulant goes by a lot of other names. You can read them here. You definitely do not want to be taking any stimulant or fat burner or pre-workout or anything sketchy that has this ingredient in it, especially if you do not have a prescription from a doctor. Typical dosages are on order of 2.5 to 60 milligrams per day. Lethal dosages are 190 milligrams per kilo. It's not legal. It's legal with a prescription. Is it safe? I am going to give it a big fat no. Big fat no. Don't mess with it. Don't mess with it unless you have a medical reason and a doctor who has diagnosed you and said that you need to be taking this in a safe environment with a prescription and they've, diagnosed you. Don't mess with it if you do not have a prescription. Next stimulant I'm going to discuss is mephedrone. Now, mephedrone is also known as bath salts. It is a synthetic stimulant drug of the amphetamine class. In addition to its stimulant effects, it does have significant side effects, where actually teeth grinding is one of them. Users have reported that this causes euphoria, stimulation, and enhanced appreciation of music, elevated mood, decreased hostility, improved mental function, mild sexual stimulation, and these effects are similar to that of cocaine and or MDMA, which MDMA is ecstasy. Mephedrone administration caused about a 500% increase in your dopamine levels, and consuming this stimulant has a 950% increase in serotonin. It has several other names. It's most commonly known as bath salts. Typical dosages, it's not legal. I don't advise it at all for stimulant use. However, I did want to address it in this video as it is a stimulant and it is not legal without a prescription. It is not safe. You definitely do not want to be anywhere near this ingredient. However, I want you guys to be aware of alternative names for it because it could be popping up in things. You just never know. You never know what people are putting in things anymore. I don't put it past anybody. I mean, not too long ago, like I was telling you guys in the last video, people were putting freaking fruit-flavored meth in pre-workout supplements. I wouldn't put it past anybody, so just be aware and be informed know what things are called, and just know what to avoid. Next group of chemical stimulants we are talking about is ephedrine. Now, ephedrine is a stimulant drug, and it is most known for its increase in activity of the central nervous system. It actually causes an increase in your body temperature, which supports the breakdown of triglycerides into free fatty acids, helping the user reduce and shed subcutaneous fat stores. It has a ton of other names. It is most common for its use in fat burner products. However, it has been banned and taken off of the market. If you see anything that has any of these ingredient names or synonyms, don't take it, stay away from it. Typical dosages are on order of 150 milligrams. That is a maximum amount humanly possible that you would ever want to take in a day. What people used to do is they would divide that into multiple dosages. Lethal dosages that would kill you are between 1,000 and 2,000 milligrams. So if you're putting it in pills at 150 milligrams a day, it wouldn't take much for somebody to hit 1,000 milligrams. So it is not a legal stimulant. It is not legal with a prescription, and it is not safe. At the end of the day, you guys, read your labels, question everything. Do not be afraid to ask questions, and just be aware of what you're taking. If there's any questions or concerns, please comment below. Please note that I am not a medical doctor. Everything that I stated in this video has not been reviewed by the Food and Drug Administration. So do not take my advice as the end-all be-all as far as an upper limit on some kind of stimulant that you are trying to explore and do on your own. I do not assume any liability for anything that you take as a result of watching this video. However, this information is based off of my research, my knowledge of these ingredients. So thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.